the No Panic Zone. I'm Steve Gruber. I'm America's voice. You know, I'm an anti-socialist, pro-American, America first kind of guy. Good to have you here. Here are three big things you need to know right now. Number one. Okay, seriously, what happened with Paulie P? Nancy Pelosi's sometimes hammered husband that actually got hammered by an assailant over the weekend. Seems like a lot doesn't add up. Sorry, is it too soon? Number two. A spy inside the Kremlin says Vladimir Putin has both Parkinson's disease and pancreatic cancer, making him the most dangerous man in the world with all those nukes at his fingertips. And number three, several major developments as we are now inside a week to go before the midterm elections, which we call the final day of voting now. Yeah, we used to call it Election Day. And now it's just the last day of voting, but I digress. In a stunning poll from the Empire State, a new poll from Trafalgar shows you I was right way back when I said Lee Zeldin could become the next governor of New York. And I got a bunch of pushback, well, from some of you guys. And Giuliani supporters and some nonsense about Zeldin not being up for the job. Well, there's a big move his way, so it looks like I was right about him being up for the job, along with several other spot-on predictions I've made so far. I'll put my record against anyone else right now, anyone. There are also major developments in the run to gain control of the United States Senate, which include a 3-point lead for Dr. Oz in a new poll in Pennsylvania. It came out just after the last disastrous performance by Democrat John Fetterman at the debate. It's the first time that Oz had a lead in any poll since this all began. Meanwhile, in New Hampshire, General Don Bolduc, who've had the pleasure to speak with several times in recent days, has also taken his first lead in any poll, leading Democrat incumbent Maggie Hassan by about a point. In fact, the polls have gotten so tight now that Real Clear Politics is beginning to see I was right. Now, they're not telling me directly, and that's okay. They can send me a note later. They are now predicting Republicans will pick up 4 seats on November 8th. I still think it could reach 5, maybe 6. Why? Well, one reason happened in Arizona Tuesday, another big boost for the Republicans and the surge to retake the United States Senate because the Libertarian in Arizona officially dropped out of the race and endorsed the Republican Blake Masters. In recent polling, Masters has been right on the tail of Democrat Mark Kelly, and with the Libertarian who's been picking up 3 to 6 points in all the polls and putting his complete support behind Masters, it pretty much guarantees that Arizona will flip red. Good work down there. And one more state that nobody was even watching until a couple of weeks ago, Washington. Washington State, now home to a neck-and-neck race between incumbent Patty Murray, who's been there since about the time the earth cooled, and hard-charging Tiffany Smiley, with one poll showing it, too, has become a dead heat. 1 point. You add Nevada and Georgia, and you have all the ingredients for an enormous Republican wave come next week. The wave will be led by women who are disenchanted with all of Joe Biden's failing economic and energy policies and boosted by Latino and black voters that have simply decided they have been on the receiving end of far too many broken promises by Democrats over the years, and it's time to move on. That means that my original call of 58 seats in the House and 5 seats in the Senate doesn't seem too crazy anymore now, does it? In fact, Real Clear Politics shifting 24 races toward the Republicans in the last month. 24. Not one. Not one to the Democrats. What does that tell you? Even the media pundits and the in-the-bag pollsters cannot save the implosion of the socialists at the ballot box come Tuesday. Now, they may still play games and save a seat or two, but we are getting this country back. And after 2024, the sleazy, yes, I said sleazy socialists, I didn't call them evil. I didn't call them less than human. I called them sleazy. So the sleazy socialists will be pushed into the trash heap of history right where they belong. However, it's harder for some to admit they are completely out to lunch than others. It really is. Let me give you an example. Let's go to New Hampshire, where the governor, Chris Sununu, basically laughs in the face of NBC's chief propaganda officer, Chuck Todd, over the silly notion people are still voting on the 2020 outcome. Really, Todd? What's in your coffee? Listen to this.
You're in a bubble, man. I love it, Chuck, but you are in a bubble if you think anybody is talking about what happened in 2020 or talking about Mar-a-Lago and all that. I know the press loves to talk about it. People are talking about what is happening in their pocketbooks every single day.
Look, I get
when
that,
they have
Governor.
to buy groceries or fill up gas or right now.
You
well, that far away.
Over
should
election
they
denialism.
be?
Okay.
How could they? Of course. Oh, my gosh, Chuck, this is hitting people. They're having trouble paying their mortgage. They're having trouble making car payments because of bad policies out of Washington. Should they be? Look, the beauty of the American system is every voter has the right and almost the responsibility to be selfish with their vote, to vote in terms of what is best for their family, the better choice for schools, better economic opportunity, and that's exactly what's going to happen in a week, which is why Hassan's going to get fired. A whole bunch of these Democrats are going to get fired because, frankly, folks that think that that the average voter is worried about 2020. The average voter, it's a serious issue, of course, but it is not what people are going to be voting on.
And you notice something, for anybody who ever watches Chuck Todd, he doesn't pay attention to what's going on at all. He's not engaged. He's always looking at his next question or what's going on or cleaning his fingernails or something. He's getting taken to school there by Governor Sununu, Governor Chris Sununu of New Hampshire, just absolutely taking him out to the woodshed. And it was a good exercise. I mean, are you kidding? You're living in a bubble, son. Now, let's start looking at some of those closer races. Pennsylvania. John Fetterman was on his way to a victory. I can't imagine how that's even possible based on his radical, bizarre policies, but a stroke in May basically disabled that run and has put him at a disadvantage. I don't take any pleasure in that portion of it, but I'm glad his policies will not make its way to Washington. When asked about the cause of inflation, John Fetterman talked a lot but said almost nothing. Well, nothing you could actually understand. I'm sorry, but it's true. Listen.
What do you think the biggest cause of inflation is, and should the Biden administration be doing more?
No, I just do. I think that simply is also, Leah, let's talk about the trillions in massive tax cuts to the corporate tax structure as well. True. You know, trillions of dollars that have added to the deficit. And now they still want to support those as well. True. I think in terms of being very serious about addressing inflation is making sure that those rates are brought back into a line with what they should have been, where they're able to fight the deficit.
No idea. I think he's talking about Donald Trump's tax cuts of 2017. He wants to raise taxes. Of course he does. Because that's what these politicians do. They spend all the money they have, then they raise taxes and spend more, and spend all of that, and then borrow more money so they can spend even more that they don't even have and don't even have a plan to get except to borrow, and we'll pay it back somewhere in the future. The can's been kicked down the road so far, it's barely a splinter of metal anymore. It's been kicked so many times so hard that that can gets kicked down the road. There's not much left of it anymore. Nothing to kick down the road, except reality. And when we get back, we'll continue this conversation of reality. And the reality is this. Republicans are going to club Democrats like baby seals on Tuesday. I'm sorry, do you find that offensive? Facts are facts. Facts are facts. We'll have more of those after the break right here on The Steve Gruber Show.